Hi everyone and welcome. Today's topic is all about how to use a reverse mortgage to buy a home. Yes, you heard me. Reverse mortgages can do more than just help senior citizens stay in their homes as they age. They can actually be used to purchase a home for a senior to right size into. Here to explain the ins and outs of this little known but highly versatile solution for seniors is my friend and trusted reverse mortgage expert, Janice Cohen of Mutual of Omaha. Janice, thank you so much for joining me again today. It's wonderful to have you.
Thank you so much, Christina. It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
I'm super excited to have you because last time we had a really informative conversation about reverse mortgages and the mechanics of it. And there's really this, what I find to be here, at least in California, a little known feature, a flexible feature of reverse mortgages that not a lot of people know about, and that you can actually use a reverse mortgage to buy a home, not just to help seniors stay in their existing homes.
Exactly.
So I'd love to talk to you about that because you've been doing this for about 2 decades now and you know all the ins and outs of it. So get us started. Who would be the ideal client to take advantage of this reverse mortgage purchase? Let's start there. Who does this apply to?
I want to say that the best candidate is someone who is selling a home that no longer works for them. And that could be, as you and I were talking about earlier, a home that has multiple stories and they're aging and they aren't able to navigate safely in the home anymore. Mm-hmm. And we see a lot of that. People fall, they have accidents at home as they age. And so obviously that is something that we want to see avoided at all costs.
Right.
Because once someone breaks a hip or shatters their pelvis, it's a very long recovery. And will they ever fully recover? We can only hope that they will. But, you know, in my experience, the best time to make a move is not once you are already falling or having accidents. Right. It's before that time. It's when you're still young enough to find new friends in a new community. Make the move with your spouse if you have one, so that it feels like just your next chapter in your life, rather than, oh, well, our old house isn't right for us anymore, and now we've got to move to this other place, or I've got to do this myself, or I need to make friends. You know, it's harder to make friends and find a sense of community when you're in your late 80s or your 90s, right? I mean, it's much easier when you're in your 60s or 70s. So let's say, for instance, we have someone who comes to you and says, Christina, I've lived in this house for 40 years. I love this house. I raised my family here, but it doesn't suit me anymore. You look at the house and you say, you know, let's list this house for $1.5 million. And they get an offer, a full price offer for $1.5 million. And it's really exciting, and they have a $500,000 mortgage that is going to be paid off through the sale of the house.
Right.
That's great. It gives them in their hand $1 million. Which they may be very, very happy about. They should be very happy about.
Right.
Not everybody gets an opportunity to have $1 million in their hand.
Right.
Now what do? Are they going to rent? Many people don't like to rent for a lot of reasons. You and I both know. The pride of ownership is such an important element to where you live. Being able to decorate it the way you want to, or make modifications to your home. So pride of ownership. They want to own a house, but where are they going to buy a house? And what if they don't want to use the full $1 million to buy a house? Because they may or may not have a whole lot of excess funds that they are going to begin drawing from for their lifestyle. Well, a lot of people, their biggest asset is their home. And maybe they have some assets that they're using for their lifestyle, but maybe even that would not be enough to get them to the finish line. So a lot of people nowadays think, what is the finish line? What? And nobody knows.
All right,
my crystal ball broke a long time ago. But I always think, count on living till age 100. If you're a California person, you probably are eating healthier than your Kentucky counterparts. You're probably a little more active than your counterparts in other parts of the country. So you hopefully have a little, and we have very good health care here. So maybe you're going to make it to 100. You have to plan for that. So here's what a reverse mortgage can do. If you find a home that you like, let's say either in the desert or the Central Coast or the Central Valley, for $750,000. So we know already you have $1 million that you can spend. But let's say it doesn't make sense to spend that entire $1 million. So as a reverse mortgage lender, on the purchase of a $750,000 home, maybe I can lend $375,000. That would be maybe around 50% of the purchase price of the home.
Right.
The other half of that purchase would come from the proceeds of the sale of the house that they just sold through you. So that together, $375,000 from a reverse mortgage and $375,000 from the proceeds of the sale, would make $750,000. That's what they're going to use to purchase their new home. And here's the best part. They're going to give to their financial planner $625,000 to invest for them so that they can have a sustainable future in their new home. Because they're not just going to sit in their home and say, well, here we are, we're safer.
Right.
What's on TV?
You have just brought up so many important points right here, and just trying to absorb everything and extract all of these important pieces. So we're looking at, the ideal person and scenario to take advantage of this would be a senior citizen, because there is that age requirement, right?
62 or over.
62 or over, that's the starting point. The next thing to consider is somebody who's already looking to make a move, either with want or need. And I want to touch on an important distinction that you made. I literally just had this conversation with another client earlier this week. So much better to plan ahead and make a decision that you want to make, as opposed to waiting until the last minute and now making a decision that you have to make.
Yes.
Right? The emotional and mental, psychological toll that can take on your decision making, and sometimes even your finances, really, when you're between a need to versus want to, can be astronomical. So we're looking at senior citizens who are looking to make a move, ideally because they're planning to make it easier for them. If they wait a little bit longer, it is what it is. We can still do it. If it's a have-to situation, still totally doable.
Yeah.
But again, better to plan ahead. And somebody who is likely going to be on a fixed income. We're looking at, you're pretty much living off of Social Security, right? Or have some other, very limited source of income that's not going to be sustainable or able to sustain the lifestyle that you would like to sustain moving forward as you age. So those are some 3 important criteria over there. And I would say, like, the fourth thing that you brought up, which is amazing, is that you can, instead of tying up all of your equity that you will be receiving from the sale of your home into another illiquid asset, now you can actually put that money to work for you. So I would say, like, these 4 things are absolutely essential components to keep in mind about a reverse mortgage purchase.
Absolutely. Because as I said, the person who's going to sell is going to want to, at the very minimum, find new friends in their new community.
Right.
They're going to want to go out to dinners,
Socialize,
to lunches,
yeah.
socialize. That is so basic. Not only to have a good quality of life, but for our mental health. We need friends in our lives.
Right.
And when you move somewhere new, especially if it's an area where there are a lot of retirees, people usually in these neighborhoods, if it's a 55 plus community or if it's just a destination for people who have left the hustle and bustle of LA behind, they are going to welcome newcomers with open arms.
Right.
They want to make new friends. They want to get a card game going.
Right.
They want to go to the theater. And they don't want to do it all by themselves. And also, maybe there are going to be trips involved. You want to take a cruise. Take a cruise. You should.
Right.
You worked hard for that house. You did you did everything right. And why should you be worrying about every penny and counting every nickel? I have clients, and I think I shared this with you once, who turned down invitations to go to a wedding for a relative.
Right.
Because they're looking at the airfares and they're saying, you know what? I can't do it. I don't want to do that.
We discussed that exact scenario last time you were here when you were talking about, just the standard reverse mortgage, why somebody would consider that. And yeah, if you're starting to make some big sacrifices in your life in terms of not seeing your family, not seeing your friends, not engaging in social activities because you're afraid of completely depleting your savings and outliving your savings, what kind of quality of life is that? So I think this is a really great tool for seniors to take advantage of, to know that not only can they, right size, like what we were talking about, into a proper home that suits their current and future needs, but also they can put their equity to work for them. It's like making money while you sleep, essentially, if you give those funds to a qualified financial advisor who can look at your individual scenario and advise you as to what would be the best assets to invest into to create some additional source of income for you in your retirement.
Absolutely, because if you think about the alternative to using a reverse mortgage to purchase this $750,000 home, let's say you're paying cash, you're going to then have $250,000
Right.
to give to your financial planner, which is not life-changing money. It's great, but I mean, I would certainly hope that it would make a difference in someone's life, and I don't want to sound as though I'm out of touch with the amount of money that people have. But the difference between giving $250,000 to a financial planner and saying, help me get to the finish line, is very different from giving $625,000 to a financial planner after having used a reverse mortgage to purchase your next home and saying, is this going to help me be able to make some great decisions and enjoy my life?
Yeah.
And the answer is
Absolutely. I mean, well, especially here in California as well, where the cost of living is higher. And a lot of seniors have their families and friends here. And if they are looking to move out of their immediate community, some don't want to just pack up and move completely out of state. They'd still like to be within a drive
right.
of their loved ones. So let's talk a little bit about the mechanics of this in a little more detail. So what can a client of mine, for example, expect when I get them in touch with you? Let's say I'm sitting down with my client, like we do our seller consultation. Normally what I do in my consultations is I take a very holistic approach to the home sale. I don't just look at, well, here's what your home is worth, here's what we can net you, and that's it. I tend to involve the CPA, the financial planner from the start if they don't already have them. I make those recommendations if they don't already have them. If they do already have them, I try to get them in the fold too, because we're looking at like a team of advisors to support this client. And let's say we are talking about the option of the client downsizing into, or right sizing. Again, I love that you pointed out right sizing. That's the word that I want to use. I get the client in touch with you, okay? What are we looking at? I've already prepared the net sheet, so we know what the client is going to net after the sale of the home. What other information do you need from me or the client, and perhaps about the home that they're going to be purchasing? When do you come into this picture?
So that's a great question. I like to get involved as early as possible. Are they buying a single family home? Are they buying a condo? If they're buying a single family home, it can't be a fixer, which is
Okay.
pretty, that, not too many people who are right sizing and have just sold a home here in Los Angeles are looking for a fixer job. They want to, in most cases, they want to move into something that's really lovely and move in ready. And
How about a cosmetic fixer, like paint carpet or paint and flooring, maybe update a couple countertops, like not knocking down walls, the roof's not caving in.
that's going to be fine.
Okay, so cosmetic updates are okay. All
Yes, cosmetic updates, perfectly fine.
right. Okay.
And then there's the issue of, is this a condo that they're looking at purchasing? And if so, we have to qualify the condo before we can give a loan approval.
Quick question on that. Condo, townhome, or single family home, if there's an HOA, are we talking specifically if there's an HOA involved or specifically the condo type of property?
Well, both actually, because even a PUD
Right.
will have an HOA, but a PUD, which is a planned unit development,
Right.
not an uncommon type of ownership in certain parts of the state and certain parts of the country, it's going to be fine. I very rarely have issues with a PUD.
Okay.
With a PUD and with a fee simple townhome, the homeowner owns the land underneath the actual structure. So it's treated almost, it's kind of like a hybrid single family condo, but it's very easy for me to get approval on that.
Okay.
Especially, there's usually a firewall in the attic between one unit and the neighboring unit. So a PUD is doable. Then you have a townhouse condo and a multi-story condo, both of which may have issues. Is there an assessment? Are there any lawsuits? Is there sufficient money in reserves? Are there too many renters in the development?
Right.
Those are all questions that get answered on a condo questionnaire that is standard. It's standardized for any type of mortgage lending.
Exactly.
So whatever type of mortgage a borrower were to do, those questions are going to need to be answered. And it can usually, certainly as a realtor, you're able to kind of get some preliminary information without too deep a dive on the part of the lender to know, like, is there litigation that might prevent lenders from lending in that development?
Those are pretty common questions that at least I ask, either if I'm representing the buyer, the listing agent, or if the listing agent doesn't know, I tend to call the HOA manager. Even
Right.
like long before we even write an offer, if my client's interested in potentially writing an offer, that's like the first phone call I make to ask these questions, just to kind of get ahead of it, so that if there are going to be problems, we're not
Right.
surprised
Right.
about it. And then escrow will order all the docs in great detail once we're in the escrow process.
Yeah, we all like to be as proactive as we can be to service our clients as best we can. And these are all questions that we need to know the answers to. So it may take more than one try, which is, of course, can be discouraging and frustrating, especially, if it's a condo that they're trying to purchase. But there are lots of options out there. And the best case scenario, just so you're aware, is if a condo is FHA approved. We do have a list that we keep. It's online. I'm able to look up any address and see if this is indeed an FHA approved condo. Many are not, but some are. It may or may not be the condo that the borrower has in mind.
Right.
There may or may not be any units for sale in that development. So, to say, well, let's keep an eye on this building, that may or may not make sense.
Right.
But we try very, very hard to make it work. And to do a reverse for purchase, which is also, my company has begun to call that a lifestyle loan, by the way.
Oh, okay.
At Mutual of Omaha, we call that the lifestyle loan. But it may make sense, to look closer at buying a single family house so that these issues don't come up that, would come up with an HOA.
Right.
Just some options that buyers have.
Yeah, I think that's really great. So once we get to the point where now we've written the offer, we've already brought you in to the fold, we've already done our examination of the HOA, escrow's going along splendidly. Does the client have some paperwork to sign in terms of getting the reverse mortgage? I'm sure there's a lot of paperwork involved, like in any real estate transaction. So we go through all the paperwork, escrow process as usual, and then congratulations, they're the new homeowner
Yes.
of this new wonderful home. And so they've brought the equity of their home, of the sale of their prior home, in at least a portion of it as the down payment, right? They now have the reverse mortgage to pay it off essentially the rest of the purchase. And now what does life look like for them in terms of their relationship with you? Do they get statements? How do they know what's happening over the life of the loan and the ownership of their home?
So they will receive monthly statements, just as they would if they had a traditional mortgage. But the difference is, there are two differences. No payments are expected or required. The other difference is that their loan balance will grow each month rather than going down like mine. I'm not old enough for a reverse mortgage. So when a person has a reverse mortgage, it is a negatively amortizing loan, meaning that the loan balance grows each month. Now, at the same time, we hope that the equity is also growing because the home value may also be growing.
Appreciation.
So it's a moving target. We never like to say, people always love to say, well, when do I run out of equity? Well, you may never run out of equity.
Right.
Because while your loan balance is increasing, we know that because you're not making payments, your home value is also increasing. I mean, your clients who bought with you 10 years ago must be positively shocked.
Right.
And
Thrilled.
like pinching themselves that they bought a house for $750,000 that's now worth $1.5 million.
Yeah,
and it's not
absolutely.
even unusual.
I mean, that's what they say, like, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. Because, look, I mean, you're living in it, if we're talking about your primary home. Yeah, what's the alternative? You're going to be paying rent somewhere. You don't get the write-offs. You don't get the tax benefits. You certainly don't benefit from appreciation. So
Exactly.
why not? It's kind of a no-brainer. And then I have a question for you. Let's say there is a need for the senior to move again. Is there anything stopping them from selling the home, moving on?
No, there's nothing stopping them whatsoever. They're free to sell the home whenever they want. They can even purchase a next home using a reverse mortgage. You can only have one reverse mortgage at a time because it is designed for your primary residence. So while you can only have one at a time, there's nothing preventing you from moving on if you need to or want to move. Say a child moves to Chicago, and you're like, I would really like to live in Chicago too. Fine, sell your home in Carpinteria and move to Chicago. Why would you do that? But whatever. I guess it makes sense. But
To each their own, right?
why did I even think of Carpinteria? It's so beautiful there. Like, why would anybody move?
I know,
But,
it's so nice.
okay, let's say they did that.
Right.
But yeah, they can do that. They can buy a home, use the reverse mortgage. We can even close escrow on the sale, and then in the afternoon close escrow on the purchase the same day and give them a reverse mortgage on the new place.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so then that way it doesn't have to be like a contingent type, like you have to sell the one first in order
Correct.
to buy the other one. Okay, I think that's awesome.
we can do
So you
it.
still have like ultimate flexibility then. There are really no restrictions in terms of like, this is only a one-time thing, you know. Certainly one big caveat is only one home at a time. You can only have one primary residence at a time. But what a wonderful option for people who want to, you know, really enjoy their elderly years and not necessarily have to worry about, you know, how long is the money that I have going to last me? Like you said earlier, is it going to take me to the finish line, especially with us living longer and longer?
Yes.
You know, is there anything that we haven't discussed about features or benefits of a reverse mortgage purchase that you feel like we need to touch on, or have we gotten like a very comprehensive look at it so far? Anything that we missed?
I think that we've covered most of the features of a lifestyle loan or a reverse for purchase. It just is going to create a scenario where the purchaser of the new home and the same person who's sold the home that they've sold with you is just going to have more access to the money that that has grown, the equity that has grown inside their home, which is such a lovely thing.
Yeah.
Because what are you saving it for?
Exactly. I love that. What are you saving the money for? You know, are you just looking to just stockpile it and keep it, or is it a tool for you to use and enjoy for the rest of your life? And with that, Janice, I'm going to thank you so much for joining me. This was enlightening. I want to invite you to, if you haven't seen my previous video with Janice, she was in here discussing reverse mortgages, a standard reverse mortgage for seniors who are wanting to stay in their existing homes. And I just thought that this video was such a great follow-up to show another feature. So if you haven't watched both of my videos with Janice, I really think you should, because we take a really deep dive into all the ins and outs of reverse mortgages in the other video as well. So this was a great supplement to that. Thank you so much. You are just a gem and a wealth of information and a wonderful resource to my clients. I so appreciate having you in my life. Thank you.
I feel the same way, Christina.
Thank
I feel
you.
very lucky.
Thank you so much. And to you, the viewers, you are awesome. I appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, take care.